Business at the Speed of Coffee, the show about business, for business, by business. Today I have with me Rob Hennin, the Chief Executive of NIB Insurance, New Zealand's premium health insurance business. But before we get on to health insurance, let's talk to Rob Hennin, the man. So Rob, welcome to Business at the Speed of Coffee.
Thank you,
You've
Kim.
been Chief Executive now for how long?
Oh, 6 years at NIB.
Who is NIB? What does it stand for? It's an Australian company?
Yeah, so we started, interestingly, 1952 in Australia, so 66, 67 years old now. We started as the healthcare arm of BHP Steelworks in Newcastle in New South Wales. So we're a community heart as an organisation. And today we're an ASX listed 200 company listed on the Australian Stock Exchange, $3 billion net worth and growing globally around the world, primarily as a private health insurer, but also offering travel insurance around the world.
And just so for people who are technically interested in this, is NIB in New Zealand a New Zealand company?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So we
have a board here?
Yeah, so we are regulated by the Reserve Bank and the FMA. So we're a QFE and a fully licensed health insurer. We have our own board here. Esteemed Chairman Tony Ryle, ex-Health Minister, 4 New Zealand board members and 2 Australian board members, and a very autonomous board. And we have to be. We're running a business in New Zealand, but leveraging the best of the synergies from the parent group.
How similar are the Australian and New Zealand companies, or how different are they?
Well, scale is different. We're much smaller. We are, I can say this because I'm in New Zealand, we're much more innovative and creative than our Australian counterparts. And we get some of that licence because of where we are. It is a different market, in terms of the channels that we operate in terms of, the kind of products that are offered. But there are tremendous synergies. We've benefited a great deal from the marketing expertise and the clinical expertise from a much bigger parent.
Okay, so you get the best of both worlds.
I think we do. Health
insurance. Why would a company buy it for their staff? Why would an individual buy health insurance in a country which has got social medicine?
Well, I think the first thing, Kim, is if you think about your own health, you want to make sure that you can look after yourself and your family. And so what health insurance gives you is the peace of mind to know that if you need help, if you need access to a specialist, if you need to go to hospital, you can get that access, you can get that treatment when and where you want it. And so really it's about empowerment.
But I mean, people can buy their own operations if they want to. What would be a big claim that somebody might make?
Well, the numbers get reasonably scary, and so of course you can self-fund. And I've got friends who have said, "Oh, we'll sell the house or we'll sell the car." Well, they normally start with the batch or the boat, but as you and I know, we ain't selling the boat. No. But the reality is, look, knee and hip operations are anywhere between $20,000 and $30,000 every month. We have heart operations between $50,000 and $70,000. Every month, back operations, $70,000. Our biggest single claim for cancer and non-pharmac drug treatment in the last year, nearly $200,000. So yes, you can self-fund, but do you want to, and is that necessary? Okay,
but before you came to NIB, where did it all start for you?
Well, I'm a proud mainlander. Born in Christchurch, went to school at Waitaki Boys in Oamaru, and through university at Otago, and through life and whatever I've ended up in Auckland, but this is my 4th time living in Auckland.
So you went to university in Otago. What did you study there?
Believe it or not, I was going to be a school teacher. I was going to be a secondary school teacher. I was, and I studied economics and geography. Now, fortunately, I studied health economics way back then, but I promptly, coming out of university, I was offered a job in fast-moving consumer goods. So I started my business career with Cadbury and Unilever.
When you were in high school, did you dream about the corner office and being a big-shot businessman? Or was it not that there in the beginning? No,
I would be one of those students who really wasn't quite sure at high school what I wanted to do. So I had, I was reasonably good academically. I played a bit of sport. I was very much into the outdoors, growing up in the Waitaki Valley, and I was heavily into music, orchestra and school bands. I was a trumpet player.
So there was no business in the family?
Yeah, business is kind of in the family, and round the table. My father had a long career in fast-moving consumer goods, but it wasn't forefront of my mind when I went to university. So I took quite a broad path. But I found that as I went through university, I became, particularly studying economics, more and more interested in the business world.
What was your first job?
My first job was at Cadbury's in Dunedin.
As
a product manager. So I went into sales and marketing. Really enjoyed it. So great business experience and as much chocolate as you can eat.
Oh, good. And you survived all that.
I survived all that.
Now, after Cadbury, where do we go from there?
So went to Unilever in Petone.
Again,
so worked in marketing, and then went on to a decade-long career with Unilever in New Zealand and then Australia. So I ended up in the ice cream business. Started off in the shampoo business, and then went into margarine, as you do, really essential things, and ended up all health food, and then ended up in ice cream, which I loved.
How did you get into the financing business? 'Cause I think you spent some time with American Express, is that right?
Yeah. So I found myself having a wonderful career with Unilever and loving it, but and travelled quite widely with Unilever throughout the region and to the UK. But increasingly, if you're interested in business, you're interested in how it's financed. You're interested in fast-moving, growing areas, and there is nothing, I guess, more fundamental to finance than banking. And so I decided that I really wanted to get into banking. And the role that I was lucky enough to secure was with Visa International around the time of the Sydney Olympics, and so I ended up being the head of marketing for Australia and New Zealand at around the time of the Sydney Olympics, and that was just a fascinating introduction to finance.
Now, what I'm hearing here is progress and success. What do you put down to your ability to keep moving up and on through these big international corporations, particularly if a younger member of our audience is trying to get a sense of what it is that makes a difference?
Well, I think it's a couple of things, and I think for me personally, and whether this is in my business career or in my private life, I'm just, I think, naturally interested and curious. And so I like reading, I like looking at new things. I like trying to work out from a business point of view how things are done. And so I've just been naturally curious about other opportunities.
Energetic?
I try to be energetic, and that's a learning for later on. You want to be relatively fit and energetic to keep up the pace of life. But I think the other thing is you want to go where the innovation is. You want to go where the opportunities are. Why? Because innovation unleashes growth, and growth is exciting. And so if you want career longevity, you've got to keep growing. You've got to keep personally growing.
Yeah, I keep saying keep reinventing yourself a little bit. Yeah.
You've got to keep investing personally, doing interesting and curious things, learning, and then you've got to take the opportunities, don't you?
Well,
there's no point developing it if you don't try.
Well, for you certainly, from chocolate to finance, and I guess ice cream in between is quite a journey. And then, of course, now we're in the insurance business. And so you came home, I think, from Australia to join NIB, that's right. So tell us a little bit about the genesis of NIB, what it means in New Zealand, and your vision and what you've done there.
So NIB is a fascinating business. At its core is looking after the needs of its members. And so it's health insurance, but really the way NIB sees things is it's about getting the right health outcomes for you. How do we do that? I mean, it's about financial protection, yes, but it's also about connecting you with the right services and products and platforms, and also it's about empowering you to make the choices that suit you. Because at the end of the day, health isn't just about, on one end, healthy eating and healthy lifestyle, or having an operation. It's about all of those things. And for you, Kim, what your health outcomes are and what you want to do is probably different to me. I mean, there are things that, we both share similar outdoor, kind of activities and things. You want to be fit and healthy enough to do the things you want to do, whether that's playing golf, working, looking after your family. And so that's what's so exciting, I think, about the vision that NIB has. It's about helping our members get the health outcomes they want.
So it's not an endless arm wrestle with the insurance company to get them to pay up. Because, I mean, we're following with some interest the underwriting problems with earthquake buildings in Wellington, for instance, where there's just an enormous amount of tension. I know even almost government intervention. And so clearly people are not very happy with their insurers. But that doesn't seem to be the case with health insurance.
Well, look, we pay $500,000 worth of claims a day today.
A day?
5 years ago, we paid half that. 5 years' time, I want to pay double or triple that. Why? Because we exist to help you get the health outcomes you want. On one hand, that means paying claims. Yeah. On the other hand, it means giving you access to great information so that you can make informed decisions. And then thirdly, it means just empowering you to know what options are available. So I see, rather than, being constrained and worrying about the financials, if we look after our members, we'll have a successful business.
So we've seen NIB, these kiosks around the place. What's that about? Well,
it's just being more approachable, right? It's being more accessible.
So it's not just marketing hype. I mean,
there's a bit of marketing in everything.
Okay.
Kim. It is about our presence and being approachable and being contactable. But the thing about kiosks, or whether it's a kiosk or whether it's on your mobile phone, is how can we give you the tools you need to make better decisions? We've got some wonderful platforms, some of them branded NIB, like our Health HQ, which we offer to corporates to help them empower their staff to look after themselves, or a business that we're a major shareholder of, Whitecoat, which is the TripAdvisor for healthcare. It's all about giving our members access to the information that they need.
So this is a genuine differentiator from the government system, where effectively it's healthcare rationing, but it is available to everybody. So what are you at NIB providing that, frankly, the government doesn't provide?
Well, I see the future being, yes, us providing some things perhaps the government doesn't provide, but also working hand in hand with the public system. But in terms of what we provide, they don't. Instant access. So if you're a healthcare member with us, you can have the treatment you need when and where you want it. And that's a real bonus.
So no waiting lists.
No waiting lists, and see the specialist you want when you want, and knowing that you have the financial certainty that it's covered.
One of the things, Rob, that interests me is, like in the UK, the National Health, I think, covers dental care. Mm-hmm. Here in New Zealand, it doesn't. Is there any dental care cover if you get health insurance with NIB?
Yeah, we cover all of the major conditions and all the things that you would need. I think my perspective on this, and if I just even think of the way I look after my own health, what you want to know is that you are in good, kind of physical condition, and mental health's very important too, good physical and mental health, to be able to do the things you want to do. And then if you find that you have an issue or you have an illness or you need treatment, being able to get that treatment as quickly as you can.
Now, in New Zealand, are we well served, you think, for professional help compared to, say, Australia or elsewhere?
Yeah, I think we are. We have one of the best healthcare systems, public and private, in the world.
And what if I can't get what I need in New Zealand? Will NIB take care of me elsewhere?
Yeah, increasingly this is going to be a global business. So we do travel insurance today. We offer travel insurance today. So, we follow you as a member wherever you want to go and make sure you're financially protected. But overseas treatment, getting access to the right specialist at the right time is increasingly important. If you think about the way the world is transforming with technology and with access, why shouldn't you be able to go to the best surgeon or the best hospital in the world if you need it? And increasingly, I have this vision, and I think this is all about technology. It's all about bandwidth and access. Of why wouldn't you be able to in the future, if we think about it creatively, to have the best surgeons working from afar but operating in New Zealand? That's not very far away.
Because we're all online.
We're all online. We've got wonderful facilities here. We've got wonderful people all around the world. And I think that's not just going to happen in health. You see it today happening in education. So why wouldn't you have best access?
There is this pesky and recurring question about technology. And I'm obliged to ask you, I mean, people are very nervous about DNA testing. And, there's Ancestry.com and others where you spit in a bottle and you're sure it looks benign, they're finding out about your providence. But could that be a two-edged sword, that the insurance industry could then hold that over you, that somewhere in your DNA there are issues?
It could be. But
how far away is it?
Look, it's imminent. There are very good tests available now, and we're doing some pilots even ourselves with our team members in Australia and New Zealand and giving them access to this kind of information. But I see this as we shouldn't be frightened of technology and we shouldn't be frightened of innovation. We should be thoughtful about it. We should certainly explore all the issues from privacy through to the effectiveness of it. But, there are some wonderful tools, and DNA will be one of the inputs.
Will your members have some control of the information that you would get from their DNA?
I think so. If you think of the regulation in Australia now, we are not allowed to discriminate in terms of pricing and access based on someone's DNA tests, and I think that's fair. Where I think it's exciting with DNA is not so much in how we would price or whether we would discriminate, but what it enables us to do in terms of providing insights. If we can work with the healthcare providers and with our members, if we know more about you, whether it's DNA, whether it's your current health record, whether it's using AI and machine learning to just make better informed decisions, we're going to have healthier people.
Well, that's, of course, very desirable. The vast majority of your claims, are they for older people, such as hips and knees, or...?
No, it's quite a mix. If you look at the statistics, the really big ones are knee operations, back operations, as you say, hip operations, and cardiovascular. But there is no, one of the wonderful things about insurance, and this is why we encourage young people to take it up, is you don't know when something's going to happen. And so, while you don't have many young people having knee and hip operations, you have some. While you don't have many young people having heart operations, you have some. And you want to be able to get the treatment you need.
If you start with NIB earlier, does it mean your costs are lower later?
Yes, it does. It does.
So in other words, you suddenly decide late in life to come in, it's going to cost you more.
Yeah, and look, that is a little bit of the vagary of this market, the structure of the market the way it is today. And if you look at, for example, the Australian system, which is community rating, that's not the case.
Oh, really?
But the way the industry is today, and it's one of the reasons it's so exciting to be in the industry in New Zealand, I'd say we are still in our infancy in terms of offering the flexibility and choice that we could offer. One of the things that attracted NIB to this market 5 years ago was it's a relatively stable market. If you think about the factors leading to disruption, it's big incumbents, lack of technology and innovation, and unmet consumer needs. To a certain extent, while this is, there's still very good players here, very good products and services, there's a lot of innovation to come.
But how many competitors do you have here?
Oh, we have 8.
8?
8 eight competitors offering private health insurance. But I think about it in terms of, it's not just, as I said, about the financial assurance in the future. It's also about connectivity. So we go into the whole area of technology and empowering you, giving you tools, and then also it's the area of access. And so it's about networks, it's about partnerships going forward.
Am I right in saying that most people get private health insurance because their employer makes it available?
Yeah, it's about half the market today.
Is that right? Only half, okay. Yeah. And what percentage of New Zealanders are using health insurance?
Only about a third. So, Australia, it's nearly 50%. And only about a third here today.
How do you account for that 20% difference between Australia and New Zealand?
Well, there's a number of, let's call them theories. But if we go to I guess, a couple of facts, the first thing is that New Zealand does have quite a history of a very strong public system. Yeah. And we also have, in our ethos as Kiwis, inherent belief that the government will look after us. And so we are more tolerant, I think, of the fact of trusting in the public system to look after us as we get older.
Perhaps misplaced, do you think?
Well, if you look at it from a financial point of view, it's certainly becoming less and less sustainable going on.
Well, sadly, being of a certain age, I've got some friends who've had some pretty challenging illnesses, and some of these new therapies, which are available around the world, are frankly extremely expensive and hard to get. And I think most people understand Pharmac's dilemma in funding some of these things. You keep one person going for 3 months, you perhaps could keep 1,000 going for 10 years. So those issues are always going to be with us. Where does NIB sit with that equation?
Well, I think two things. One, we are funding many of these new technologies, including non-pharmac drugs, but I still see that as a little bit of the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff.
Yeah.
The fence at the top is preventative. Yes. It's much more on early diagnostic. Yes. And so while it's not that much fun to have a gastroscopy or a colonoscopy, these kind of early interventions can save you a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of hassle later on. So yes, we fund some of these new technologies, and we'll fund many more in the future, but it is going to be also about how do we get these issues early, how do we treat them early, and help you stay out of hospital.
Well, if I were to get onto the NIB Health Helpline or whatever it is, and say, hey, look, I'm a man of, say, a certain age, I don't smoke, what have you got for me? Is there advice that you give people on what exercise I should take or how I should live?
Yeah, so we would say a couple of things from a financial point of view. Either we can tell you about our products, but if you want to, think widely, we'd refer you to a financial advisor so you can get a full piece of financial advice. And then, so that's the financial component, but then on the wellness component...
What about taking care of stress, presumably, and things like that?
Well, that's right. Well, because at the end of the day, we are whole people. Mm-hmm. It is, sometimes the illnesses we have are, kind of physical, but sometimes they're also mental, and a lot of stress comes from our financial situation.
Right? And that's acknowledged by your program.
Yes, it is. And then I think the other area is just in overall wellness. We've got 5 trained wellness coaches on our own staff, and we use other tools, particularly digital tools, now to give you access to everything from STEP programs to mindfulness programs to kind of help you feel better.
Now, I've got to ask you this. Do you walk that talk? What do you do to stay fit?
I am a very enthusiastic fitness person, but I'm a little bit sporadic. So I do try to do some exercise every day. I try to either walk or run or cycle to work.
Would NIB, would that be your prescription?
I think as a senior executive, you have to stay fit, right? But then I do a number of events during the year, something to kind of aim for. Like cycling around Taupo or the Queenstown Half Marathon.
I don't see coast to coast.
No, you don't see anything extreme. But then I'm one of these people who also everything in moderation. Who after that celebrates and probably has a month or two off. But then I get back on the wagon and keep at it.
Well, I can say from a lifetime of exercise, and I've never been anything other than just an exerciser, but pretty much every day, it does help with the mental attitude.
It does.
And I sense in you someone with a real positive mental attitude, which has to be one of the vectors for good health, I would have thought. And exercise has got to be part of that.
Yeah, I was at a course last week. I'm doing an INSEAD course to try and keep up with the world, particularly in the areas of governance and leadership. And I was talking to one of the other participants, and we were talking about hiring executives, and I was saying, well, what do you hire for? And they said that their response was resilience and stamina. And when they said stamina, I was thinking, determination and grit. And they were saying physical stamina.
Really?
And I was saying, really? And they're saying, well, look, it's a hard life. You have long days, you have travel, and of course you're a whole person. It's not just about work, it's about your family as well. And so we're looking for people who have a genuine desire to look after themselves. Yeah. Otherwise, our careers are not sustainable.
Well, modern international business, I know this myself, from you're chasing aeroplanes down runways and losing sleep, eating strange food and things like that. If if you don't have good physical strength and mental strength, it gets, in the end, you're subpar and you don't actually perform well. That's quite clearly. And I think one of the things in the modern international business, I think you're going to find this, there's time zones.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you work with Australia all the time.
I do, and increasingly around the world, yeah.
Yeah, so.
But that also makes it interesting. And so go back to an earlier thing we were discussing. One of the things you want in your career is a bit of excitement.
Yeah.
Because that's what gets us up in the morning.
Exactly. So if you're giving some advice to a younger person starting out in a career, hoping one day to be a chief executive, what would you give them? What would you suggest that they do?
I would say find something that you like for a start, because that's the thing that makes it exciting. That's the thing that means that you want to get up every day. Because you're learning something new, it is changing, it is a challenge. If it's really, really easy, it's not that much fun.
You want the challenge.
Yeah.
And how do you deal with being down in the dumps? Because everybody sometimes gets down in the dumps. What do you do?
Well, everything from a bit of exercise to the occasional glass of wine in balance to reading a good book. And family and friends are really important. If you think about if you're not feeling very good, what's a really good way to get out of it? Go and talk to some family and friends and go and do something with them.
Now, I don't want to make you feel too bad about being down in the dumps, but I'm a blues fan.
Yes.
And it's hard work. Now, give me some hope. I know you've been big sponsors of the Blues. Yeah. NIB's been terrific for the team. Give us some hope here.
So, as you know, I'm a huge fan. The Blues have been wonderful for us as a sponsorship. We took it on because we think it's a really good fit with our brand. These are wonderful people, right? The management and the team, they're wonderful athletes and really good role models. So that's good in itself, win or lose. And look, the team gets better and better. We get to know them better and better.
They're young by the league standards, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And but at the end of the day, we're an insurance company. And so if you think about, why are we there? It's great. It's great branding for us. It's wonderful partnership for us in terms of learning and fitting with our brand. But at the end of the day, we're an insurance company. We're there whether you're going well, and particularly when you're not.
Which is a good, strong message and a good positive one on which we'll end this show. So to our listeners, I want to thank Rob Hennin, Chief Executive of NIB Insurance. And thank you for being with Business at the Speed of Coffee.
Thank you, Kim.